This is KGW News at Sunrise.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for being here with us on this beautiful Saturday. I'm Galen Etlin. This morning here on Sunrise, local groups are getting ready for an influx of Afghan refugees arriving to Oregon. We're going to talk about the latest timeline and how you can help. Plus, the federal eviction moratorium ending worries a lot of people in the metro area. I'm going to tell you, though, about some protections in Multnomah County that it still offers. But first, Keely Chalmers joins us live with our forecast. Good morning, Keely.
Hey, good morning, Galen. Yeah, we're in store for a day full of sunshine as well as warmer temperatures. A little bit of haze out there as well, though, as we head into the morning and afternoon hours. Let's check out our live camera atop the Wells Fargo Center. So we've got 54 degrees and the winds, they are calm. They are going to pick up this afternoon. It's going to be a bit breezy both on the coast and in the valley this afternoon. We'll see sunshine, but we'll also see haze, the result of those northerly winds blowing the smoke in from some of the fires burning up there in central Washington. So expect a hazy day, but a warm day with high temperatures reaching the mid-80s. It's going to be a really nice weekend ahead. More sunshine tomorrow before a little bit of a cool down as we head into next week. We'll talk more about that coming up in your full forecast. Galen.
All right, Keely, thank you so much. We'll see you in a few minutes. We begin with the crisis in Afghanistan this morning. After the deadliest attack on American troops in more than a decade, the U.S. has struck back. Here's the latest here. One suicide bomber set off the explosion Thursday near the Kabul airport. It killed 13 U.S. service members, more than 170 Afghans, and injured more than 200 others. On Friday, President Biden's national security team warned another attack in Kabul is likely. A few hours later, the Pentagon announced the U.S. had carried out a drone strike against ISIS-K, the group that claimed responsibility for the airport attack. The U.S. government believes one ISIS-K member was killed and says there were no civilian casualties. All of this comes during the massive evacuation effort to get Americans home and Afghan refugees to their new countries. And some of those refugees are coming to Oregon. KGW's Catherine Cook spoke with two nonprofits that are paving the way and hoping you can help.
The images are hard to watch. Thousands of Afghan refugees escaping an oppressive regime where some could face death.
It is tragic, and we are reeling, I think, as everyone is right now.
Luke Glaze is the director of Salem for Refugees. For days, he's been waiting for word on an Afghan family of 10. One member served as an interpreter for the U.S. military, earning them a special immigrant visa.
Just heard today that the family has made it out, so we were kind of on pins and needles there for a while, just wondering if the family would make it. And we just heard that they have made it out, and so we're expecting them to arrive in Salem just in the next couple of days.
This fall, Salem for Refugees will help between 3 and 5 more Afghan families start over in Salem. The nonprofit hopes to raise $50,000 to help them transition into affordable housing.
Something that's very close to all of our hearts, working in resettlement and just knowing that the trauma that's caused by these events and wanting and preparing to help.
Portland-based Ecumenical Ministries of Oregon is expecting Afghan families to get here as soon as next week. Many will arrive as parolees, meaning they won't be eligible for many of the same public benefits or supports as refugees. We recently spoke with Britt Conroy, EMO's Director of Public Policy Advocacy. He's hoping Congress passes emergency legislation to help Afghans access those supports. In the meantime, he's partnering with other nonprofits to do what they can.
Really, the work is helping someone get their feet on the ground, feel welcome, and start the day-to-day efforts of working, going to school, and connecting to community.
Back in Salem, Luke Glaze says even in the last week, they've seen an outpouring of volunteer help and donations for those who will soon call Oregon home.
People really wanting to support these families, and we are incredibly grateful.
Catherine Cook, KGW News.
Another big story a lot of people are talking about this morning. A Portland police officer is recovering after getting shot in the hip yesterday morning. This was in North Portland's Kenton neighborhood. Officers were called to help federal agents serving a warrant. The officer shot is a 14-year veteran from the North Precinct. After he was hit, 2 other officers fired back. Police say the suspect died, but they are not confirming yet if he was shot by an officer.
What woke us up was them yelling out his name, and it started off pretty subtle, and then it just gradually escalated. And then we just heard a couple gunshots, and then one turned into a couple, and then now just full-blown chaos everywhere.
If it's confirmed the suspect was killed by an officer, it would be the third deadly shooting by Portland police this year. A jury says a Clark County man is guilty of murdering a transgender teen, and here's why that detail is important. David Bogdanoff met Nikki Kuhnhausen on a dating app. The two were having sexual contact in the back of Bogdanoff's car, and that's when he found out she was transgender. Bogdanoff testified he pushed Kuhnhausen away and that she reached for his gun near the driver's seat. He argued that he strangled Kuhnhausen with a cell phone charger in self-defense. Bogdanoff later dumped Kuhnhausen's body on Larch Mountain.
The jury did find that she was killed. She was killed intentionally, and she was killed because she was trans. So hopefully that brings some measure of peace to the community, although it doesn't heal the wound and it doesn't bring her back.
Now here's exactly what that means here. The jury found Bogdanoff guilty of second-degree murder and malicious harassment, which is a hate crime in Washington. Sentencing is set for September 9th. Let's turn to the pandemic now. Oregon has passed another grim milestone this morning. The Oregon Health Authority reported 3,207 new and presumptive cases and 20 new deaths. That number yesterday is the new daily record for cases. The number of hospitalizations is also going up. 1,098 people are getting treatment, and 308 of those are in the ICU. Modeling suggests we could see 165 hospitalizations a day by September 7th. But those numbers could decrease if more people wear masks and get vaccinated. As we continue tracking the rise in COVID cases in Oregon and Southwest Washington, a growing portion of those cases involve kids under 5. Our Pat Doris looks at that alarming trend.
While the most visible victims of COVID are adults who end up in hospitals, a steadily growing number of COVID carriers are Oregon's children. Pay attention to the light blue line on this graph from the Oregon Health Authority. It's the number of kids 0 to 5 years old who tested positive for COVID during 1 week, August 15th. It totals 499 babies, infants, toddlers, little ones. It seems like an astoundingly high number, but to those in healthcare like Dr. Ben Hoffman, it is not.
It doesn't surprise me. And I think it doesn't surprise me because we're seeing a lot more kids who have been back in daycare or in childcare. And with the rise, the increase that we're seeing across the board, I'm not surprised.
Dr. Hoffman is a professor of pediatrics at OHSU Dorenbecker Hospital. He said despite the big numbers, few little ones or even older kids actually end up sick enough to go to the hospital.
I'm also not surprised that those kids, like I said, are not getting super sick, which is reassuring. And, I'm really glad that they're not getting sick.
He said there were only 2 positive COVID patients at OHSU last week who were 18 or younger, and both were admitted for other conditions, then found to be positive during routine testing. This chart from OHA shows which ethnic populations under 18 in Oregon are getting infected with COVID. It's ranked here based on their infection rate per 100,000 since the start of the pandemic. Pacific Islanders are tops with a rate of 8,400 per 100,000. Then Native Americans with a rate of almost 7,900 per 100,000, followed by those with more than one race and then those of Asian descent. The largest raw number of kids under 18 getting COVID are white, with 14,800 cases since the beginning of the pandemic, followed by Hispanics with 9,200 cases. But it's that number of little ones, 499 from the age of 0 to 5, infected with COVID in 1 week that grabs attention. And because of their age, they have significant potential to spread the virus to others.
One of the things that you can think about is likely going to happen with kids 0 to 5 is that an adult caregiver is much more likely to be in close proximity to that child, holding them, just in your activities of daily living, changing diapers and bathing and that sort of stuff.
Now, Dr. Hoffman said the children he has seen who are COVID positive have cold-like symptoms. He also says if you're worried your child might be positive for COVID, call your doctor first before rushing to the ER or the doctor's office. They can tell you whether you should get the child tested and how you can do that. Well, a number of major events are happening in Oregon this weekend despite the COVID surge that we're seeing. And that includes the Oregon State Fair and the Hood to Coast Relay that you're seeing right here. For the relay, masks are required at the start and finish lines and at the exchange points. Masks are required at the fair as well, and both events are offering free COVID shots. Another big event, the Portland Marathon, will require participants, volunteers, and staff to show proof of vaccination. If not, they'll have to have a negative COVID test within 72 hours of the event, rather. People will also be required to wear a mask at the expo, at packet pickup sites, the start and finish lines, and at the post-race party. Race day is Sunday, October 3rd. Now, if you know anyone worried about rent or eviction, this is a really important story here. Multnomah County and Portland leaders are assuring people there's still help for those struggling to pay because of the pandemic. The U.S. Supreme Court decision ended the federal eviction moratorium. But locally, there are some resources for you. The first thing you can do is meet with a case manager by calling 211. There's also a grace period for people who can prove they've applied for rental assistance.
Even if you don't get an eviction notice, if you can't pay your rent right now, but and you're worried about that, you can apply for rent assistance. And that notice, that documentation of your application, if you get that to your landlord, that kicks off a 90-day grace period in which you can't be evicted also.
As of August 17th, Multnomah County, the city of Portland, and their partners have distributed $46 million in pandemic rent assistance. For a lot of kids, a new school year is just days away, and a big focus this year is mental health. We're going to look at what teachers are doing to get ready.